Hello, everyone, and welcome to Optimize and Unfiltered podcast, where we talk about the hormone changes, the energy changes that no one warned you about in midlife. Today, I have Katya, and she is a physician's assistant. She is going to share a little bit about her story with peptides. I can't wait to hear all the things. So, Katya, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
All right. Well, again, my name is Katya. I live down here in Fort Lauderdale, and I'm a physician assistant for for over 26 years. So, yeah. So I've been a PA for a while. I have worked the past 20 plus years in radiation oncology. So I work with cancer patients. That's my 9 to 5. And I love my cancer patients, mostly breast cancer patients, but I see everything. But that's my 9 to 5. And I started recently, last year, I started my own telemedicine practice where I do women's hormones and weight loss and peptides.
Amazing. Oh my gosh, I love that. We all need just better education when it comes to women midlife, and we need access to resources like that, peptides and hormones and all the things, because no one warns us about those changes that happen in midlife. And no one's
Yeah.
there to really dive into those things and give us the education. So tell me tell me a little bit about your background as a PA and, what were you doing before peptides?
Yeah. So again, I was working as a PA in radiation oncology, but what happened is that when I turned 46, my period stopped, and so I was on birth control probably from the time I was maybe 20, and I decided to go off birth control at 46, and I got off to have children. Obviously, I have 2 kids, so I got off just to have kids, but I always went right back on the pill. And at 46, I was like, I'm going to stop this pill thing. I was just kind of sick of being on the pill, and my period never came back. So I went to my OBGYN, and she gave me a progesterone challenge, but nothing ever happened. I never had another bleed. So she was like, well, I guess you're in menopause, but that was it. They didn't say what was going to happen or anything, so it was just like, okay, you're in menopause. So I was like, all right. I didn't really know what that meant back then. And actually I didn't feel bad for several years, probably until I turned about 50. And then I started to gain weight and I started to have hot flashes. My worst symptom was fatigue. And I was just literally, I would wake up in the morning tired and I would go to work just thinking about when can I get home to get back in bed. I was just so tired. So I didn't even understand what was going on with my body. And then a friend of mine said, you're probably, in menopause and I take these pellets and you should try these pellets. So, and I was like, cause I think I'd gone to my doctor to see if I could get hormones. And
Mhm.
remember, this is going back maybe I guess this is going back 10 years. Wow. So, nobody was giving anybody hormones, no doctor was writing you a prescription for estrogen so at the time I asked, my friend, and she said, just go to this doctor. He does pellets. So yeah, so I started with pellets and it was like going from 0 to 100. So I was like, wow. Yeah, it was really like a great surge. And I had all this energy. The pellets were estrogen and testosterone. And then I
Mhm.
took a progesterone pill at night. But I only really did that. And they lasted about 3 to 4 months. And I did it twice, but I decided not to do it anymore more because of vanity, because every time they put it into your buttock, it left a little dark mark on my buttock. And, down here in South Florida, we wear a lot of bathing suits down here. And I was like, oh, if I keep getting these pellets, I'm going to have all these little dark marks on my butt. And so I stopped doing that. And I finally found a doctor, a OBGYN that would give me, a patch. And so even now I'm currently on the estrogen patch and I do a progesterone pill and a testosterone cream. And I've been pretty stable with that. So pretty steady.
Awesome. And obviously you feel good.
Yeah, I feel pretty good. There's always room to feel better. And, I optimized my hormones, but then, I was still gaining weight. So, and I've always been pretty active and I go to the gym 4 times a week. I lift weights, but I just couldn't lose the weight. I hired a personal trainer and I did lose probably about 15 pounds with the personal trainer, but I'd gained like 25 pounds.
Mhm.
And that last 10, 15, 10 pounds, 10, 12 pounds, it just wouldn't budge. no matter what I did. So, and at the same time, I ended up having my shoulder, I had like frozen shoulder.
Mm.
And it wasn't really frozen shoulder, but I had a lot of tendinopathy and I couldn't lift my left shoulder up. And that's kinda hard when you're trying to work out. I couldn't lift weights with my left shoulder. It was just everything had to be modified, and I was like, "There's gotta be a better way." So, actually, the first peptide I ever tried was BPC 157,
Wow.
and that changed my life, literally.
Amazing. Amazing.
So, yeah, because, I was in so much pain all the time with my left shoulder, and a lot of women, of course, I've learned that when estrogen declines, a lot of women get a lot of joint pain and you can get this frozen shoulder. And because we have estrogen receptors all over our bodies. And that's what, I'm trying to educate women. They have this frozen shoulder and they go through physical therapy and just all these different things and it just doesn't get better. And literally using BPC 157 for 2 months, it did the trick. I mean, look, and I lift
Amazing.
heavy. I mean, I feel nothing. And I could not even raise my arm, not even a little bit, not even to drive, I couldn't raise it.
Wow.
So,
That's an incredible
yeah,
transformation.
yeah, yeah. So then after the BPC 157, I started looking more into the peptides and I heard about terzepatide. And that's about the time I was really looking into LAMD also. So I started on a microdose and it was just amazing because I had so much inflammation that my face was just like, I always thought I had a round face, but it was just so much inflammation.
Right.
And my belly, no matter how many what I did in the gym, I still had this belly. I looked like I was, 4 months pregnant and I just had this big round face. And after starting terzepatide, it really decreased the inflammation. And I was able to finally lose that 10, 12 pounds that I had been carrying for years.
Amazing. And I talk to women, and we both do very similar things. And I talk to women every day who really have that 10 to 15 pounds that they just cannot get off, despite working out 5, 6 days a week, being in a caloric deficit, and they can't lose the belly. And, they get on a microdose, and it's a lot of inflammation. It's a lot of insulin resistance, and they get on the microdose, and it's like, boom, you don't even realize how much inflammation you're holding on to until you get on the microdose.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And the thing is that when I was with the personal trainer, it was kind of extreme because he wanted me on a 1200 a
Oh,
1200 calorie
yeah.
diet, right? So, and then I'm working out. It was just it wasn't good, Who can nobody can sustain that,
Mm-mm.
so it didn't really make a lot of sense. So when I left him, I was like, no, there's got to be a better way. Of course, I believe in a whole foods diet and I do not eliminate any food groups. I really don't believe in eliminating any food groups. But I just balance them and I was just, there's so many women that they stay on like 1,000 calorie diet and they're
Right.
working out, they're running, and they don't understand you're not going to move the needle with that.
No.
Until I mean, the tirzepatide, I'm telling you, I talk to women all the time about this, just a micro protocol,
Mm.
even that little amount, because there's some women that are afraid to go on it and they don't want to go on high. And I don't like to give anybody high doses either. So just being on a micro protocol can make a world of difference.
It sure can. What are you seeing with your clients that you put on the protocol?
Yeah, so the first thing that a lot of them call me and tell me, they're like, "Oh my gosh, like I can't believe that I feel the inflammation." Everybody, that's the first thing they see, and their clothes start fitting different. Maybe the scale may not be a lot different, but their clothes fit different and they feel different. So
Mm.
that is the main thing. And then, as we go on, then they start seeing more weight loss, but the inflammation is definitely the first thing they see reduce.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Amazing. And were you skeptical at first with yourself with trying peptides?
Yeah, well, when the BPC, I was just desperate with that. I
Yeah.
was just like, I'm gonna try anything to get this shoulder. So I just said, let bring it on. But with the tirzepatide, being in healthcare, when they first came out, I was like, oh, this is the easy way out. Everybody's taking,
Mhm.
I talked bad about them probably a little bit. This is several years ago, but then I started to see more and more research about all the good and not just with weight loss, but even with dementia. In my family, most of the women get dementia. And so that is another reason that I said, I'm not getting off of this. I'm always staying on this because I mean, there's, obviously there's more research that needs to be done, but if there's showing any signs that this might help, I'm staying on. So that was another big factor of me starting the tirzepatide, because I've seen many of my aunts, my grandmother, all go through it, and it's just not pretty.
Yeah, that's a great point that you mentioned. And, it's funny because we were both down at the same training in Delray 2 weekends ago. And the doctor who was doing the training on the peptides explained it like, would you stop doing your skincare routine? As you
Ex-
get older, I
Yeah.
don't think any women are going to stop doing their skin routine. And because it works and you feel so good. And so, same with microdosing. This is for longevity. This is not just for weight loss. There's so many other benefits.
Yeah.
So I'm in the same boat. I don't plan on stopping it anytime soon, because I feel so good and because of the benefits. What about, did you get any side effects with microdosing? Because
I
I think a
didn't.
lot of
Well, I have to say, when the first injection I took, I felt it gave me a little fatigue
Mhm.
that week or something, but then that was it. I mean, I never got nausea, and I had the fatigue after the first injection, but then that went away. So I really didn't have any. And honestly, most of my clients, when I talk to them, I always, prep them on what might happen, but most of them don't have any side effects.
No, mine don't either.
No, no.
Amazing. So you started on the BPC, then you added the tirzepatide. Are you taking any other peptides?
So I finished with the BPC, and then the next one I got on was
Awesome.
Tesamorelin,
Tell me
ipamorelin.
about that. Tell me about what you saw.
So, I'm trying to build more muscle, but I'm in the gym, 4 days a week. I'm lifting heavy. So I wanted to try the Tesamorelin because, we know that's good for, some visceral fat loss, and also, to help, with building muscle, and the ipamorelin with sleep. I was like, bring it on. And so I just finished that one, and I loved it because I definitely can see more muscle definition in my abs and in my arms.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Same.
So yeah, I love it. I loved it. So I just finished that, and I just started 2 days ago. I just started GHKCU.
Oh my gosh, I love that one. You're gonna love
Yeah.
that one too.
I can't wait because I mean, as a midlife woman, my hair is thinning, the
Mhm.
collagen's just going away. So
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, let's start this GHKCU, and I'm about to order Motsi because I keep hearing everybody rave about it.
I love I love Motsi too. It really helps with energy. Have you tried NAD plus yet?
So I did, and I tried it in two forms, with nasal spray and injections, and it just, for me, it didn't do
Not
anything
gonna
for
do
me.
anything.
Yeah.
And some people
So
have that. I mean, a lot of people I talk to, they do get a boost of energy from it and they do feel great. I feel great from it, but some other people don't feel those effects right away.
And I actually felt sleepy, which is weird. But somebody was like,
Really?
"Oh, maybe your methylation pathway or
Right.
something." I don't know, something, because it made me sleepy every time I took it.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get the opposite. I'm like ready to go. I'm like turbocharged. But yeah, it just depends on the person
Yeah.
for
I
sure.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So who is the majority of people that you typically see?
So my company's name is Midlife Hotness. So it's
I
Midlife Women.
love that. I love that.
So it's midlife women, that because I just feel like there's more information out there, but back when I was trying to figure it all out, there was nothing. There was nothing out there. There was no Mary Claire Haver and all this, all these people out there now. There was nobody. So I wanted to be the voice for and still a lot of women have no idea what's going on. It seems like, when you're on social media, it seems like, because I guess, probably our social medias probably look the same, and there's a lot of, peptides, menopause, that's all we see. But,
Mhm.
that's not everybody's algorithm. And a lot of women still have no clue about hormones and peptides and what can make them feel better. So I just usually treat like midlife women, and I just want to help them feel like themselves again.
Absolutely. And so do you prescribe hormones?
So I do prescribe because I'm a PA. I can prescribe, but I only have a license in Florida, so I can only prescribe in Florida.
Got it.
But the good thing about being with Ellie is that with the peptides, I don't, 50 states, so I could just send them right to Ellie, and it doesn't matter where you live.
I
So that's
love
the
that
nice
so
thing.
much.
Yeah.
So let's bust some myths about peptides and
Okay.
because I think there's a lot of noise out there about being nauseous and losing your hair and not being able to eat and being skinny fat. So let's bust some myths about hair loss.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I think that is very dose dependent, the hair loss. I being on a microdose, I have not had
Mhm.
any clients say that they're losing hair. I have heard people, from that are on, yeah, higher doses, not with me, but other places. When they're on higher, I mean, there's some women that are on like 15 milligrams and,
Right.
12 milligrams, that's high, and if they're on that for a long time, then sure, you could see that. But I don't really ever put anybody on high doses like that. I think that low and slow is the way to go,
I
so,
totally
and
agree.
I don't see those side effects. Goodness.
And same, what about nausea?
Nausea? So it's really self-limiting, honestly. There's been a couple of clients after the first injection or the second, they say, "Oh, I feel a little nauseous," but nothing that they had to use medication for. They had some ginger tea maybe, and that was it. And then their bodies got used to it. You just have to let your body kind
Mhm.
of get used to the medication. You're introducing something new, so of course, you might have some little effects, but there's nothing that they needed any Zofran or anything like that for. They it just was self-limiting.
Uh, and, the nice thing about Ellie is that they do give you Zofran, and
I
it's
know.
included, so if you need it, you can take it, but most people don't need to, especially with a
Yeah,
microdose.
exactly.
Yeah. So tell me, let's talk a little bit about, because there's a lot of viewers that are struggling with fatigue, with belly fat, with hormone changes. What is the first thing that you do when someone comes to you and says, "Hey, I think I have some hormone imbalances"?
Yeah, so I definitely think that you need to check the hormones, right? Checking hormones is important. Now, there are some patients that they can't, they don't have insurance, they don't have any, it's limited. So sometimes I'm like, well, if they're having all these symptoms, I don't necessarily. I'm like, listen, I know what you're going through. You're, 47. You're going through these. You're having hot flashes. You're fatigued. You're gaining weight. It's a no brainer. So I start some women on hormones, on estrogen and progesterone, even without testing their
Mhm,
hormones sometimes. But it's nice to have a baseline, right?
mhm,
Obviously, I like to test everybody's hormones to have a baseline and then go from there. But I have started women without testing because it's a no brainer,
right.
and then they feel fantastic. And when they're able to do some testing, then we do testing. But sometimes it's rough out here. So not everybody can afford to do all the testing and
Mhm.
then buy the prescriptions. And so I just try to help women out wherever I can.
Yeah, that's great. We
Yeah.
we all need it for sure.
Yeah.
So, I think the myth out there, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that if you get on hormone replacement, you'll lose weight.
I've heard that so many times. It's so funny because, and I try to educate women. It's like
Mhm.
when you start on hormones, that is not a weight loss medication.
Right.
It's not. And as a matter of fact, you might gain a little weight,
Mm,
because estrogen, sometimes you can,
mhm.
um, you know, gain a little weight with estrogen. You can get some breast tenderness. You can, there's side effects with that, but then usually things get better as you're on it for longer, but it's not a weight loss medication. And I tell people because people think that being on hormones is cheating, just like they say,
Right.
peptides is cheating, but it's not. So being on hormones is not cheating. You're actually giving yourself back what you already had, and that's what keeps us balanced. That's what keeps you feeling good.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, why, we talked about health span versus lifespan.
Yeah.
And lifespan is, yes, how many years you live, but health span is how many years do you feel optimized? And it's like
Exactly.
you're losing your hormones and you're losing these peptides that were once there. And it's like if you have a chance to get those hormones back and feel optimized and replenish those peptides, it's like, why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you feel optimized as long as you possibly can? That's how I look at it.
No, I totally agree. And that's why I say, I mean, I'm going to stay on my hormones forever. They'll
Yeah.
have to pry this patch off me and, everything else. And even the peptide, the tirzepatide, I mean, and I'll probably cycle back on the BPC at some point. I
Mhm,
mean,
mhm.
why not? And it's just making me feel amazing. If it makes me feel so good, and I just want other women to be able to feel this good too. So try to educate them. But there's a lot of misconceptions, like you said, about hormones and peptides. Especially like I hear all the time, oh, peptides aren't FDA approved, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like your supplements that
Right.
that creatine, that those vitamins you're taking every day that you swear by, that's not FDA approved either. But,
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah.
so
And so tell me some of the benefits that people can see with hormone replacement, because I know for me, I used to do the pellets too. And
Mhm.
so that first month you're like supercharged,
Woo!
right? You're like you have all the libido and the drive and the energy. And then the second month, you feel good. And then the third month you start to kind of go
A little
downhill.
bit,
You
yeah.
start to go downhill and you're like, when's my next pellet?
Yep.
And so tell me the difference between the cream and the pellet that you see with your patients.
Yeah. So like you said, with the pellet, you're like on 100 when you first get them. Like
Yeah.
it's like, whoa, you're just supercharged, like you said. But the thing is that for some women that might be too much
Mhm.
and they don't like that feeling. And there's no way, once it's in, it's in. And there's no way to adjust. So that's one thing I don't like about the pellets because I've had I know women that have gotten them and they're like, "Oh my god, I feel terrible on them," but you just gotta write it out for the 3 or 4 months, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's sad. But also, like you said, you feel really good and then you start feeling okay and then you just decline. So I personally use the patch and you change it, you put it on and you change it twice a week and it keeps me steady. I don't ever really get highs and lows. I just stay steady. And I take a progesterone pill at night that helps me sleep.
Mhm.
It puts me right to sleep, but
Yep.
not necessarily stay asleep. So I
Mhm.
think sleep is still something that I struggle with. Sometimes it's my own fault because I go to bed too late, but definitely I'm still waking up sometimes at 3 in the morning So, I'm trying to work on that. I'm taking magnesium also at night. So
Mhm.
it's a work in progress.
For
But
sure.
but I do like in the testosterone, I use the cream and that I use, it's compounded. It's a
Mhm.
compounded cream that I use 1 click, every day. So, to each thigh, and that seems to keep me steady. I may change that to injection because I feel like I need a little more energy, libido, so I might
Mhm.
change to, the injections,
I
see how
That's
that
what I
goes.
do right now. I do injections once a week.
Yeah.
And I do
So I
like
think I'm
that. It
gonna
it keeps you nice and steady.
okay.
I really find that it does. Progesterone, I also take oral at night, and that really
Yeah.
does help with sleep. Estrogen, I'm still okay. I'm 45, so
Okay.
still okay with estrogen, but I'm
Okay.
sure that will tank soon, and I will absolutely be on the patch.
Yeah, yeah,
There's no question about it. So, what are some symptoms of hormone imbalances or just
yeah.
decreasing hormones that women come to you with?
Right. So I hear a lot of times, so obviously the most common one is people say they have hot flashes, night sweats. They have also the weight gain, the joint pain, fatigue, the hair, the thinning hair, the dry skin. I hear all these things, the dry skin, all of a sudden their ears are itchy,
Mhm.
um, you know, dryness even in the eyes and things like that. Like I said, we have estrogen receptors all over our body. So, the dry vaginas, right? That's a big one.
Mhm.
So, and vaginal estrogen is like key,
I've
really.
heard that.
Yes, yes. And for aging women women and you know, or even in their late 40s up, you should be using vaginal estrogen to keep those tissues plump, because they dry out, they become prune-like, okay, if you don't use vaginal estrogen. And as we get older, we are more apt to get urinary tract infections,
Mhm.
and vaginal estrogen can decrease your risk of that.
That's
And
Mhm.
sex can become a little painful if you're drier. So vaginal estrogen also just keeps everything a little bit more moist and helps with sex not being so painful. So a
Is
lot
that a
of
cream that
women
you put down there?
yeah. So it comes cream and suppositories,
Okay.
but the cream I like because you can actually it comes with a plunger, but I always say don't even bother with the plunger. Just use your fingers and you
Mhm.
can put a little bit inside and on the outside, on the
Mm.
vulva and everything. And it kind of helps the tissues stay plump.
Oh,
So it's nice. Yeah.
and then progesterone, what does that help with?
So the progesterone is the relaxation hormone, which is amazing because a lot of women have a lot of anxiety. That is probably one of the biggest symptoms that I hear from women these days is anxiety.
Mhm.
I don't know why, they come to me like, I don't know why I feel anxious. I have palpitations. I have 2 friends that can't drive on highways anymore because they're just
Wow.
so anxious about driving on highways. And it just all started when they were about, 48, 49, and they're not on hormones. I've talked to them about being on hormones. One of them can't go on hormones, and the other one just, I don't know, she just doesn't want to go on hormones, but she doesn't drive highways because she's so anxious about it. But yeah, anxiety is a huge, huge symptom of decreasing estrogen. But progesterone, like I was saying, is the relaxation hormone. So women that have a lot of anxiety, progesterone is great for that, especially at night when your mind is racing and everything. Just take the progesterone and it kind of just relaxes you and you go to sleep. It's great.
It sure does. Yeah. What about testosterone?
So testosterone is great. A lot of women think that it's only for men, but no, we make testosterone and we need it. So, and it's excellent for libido because unfortunately, when your estrogen starts to decline, the testosterone is declining, our libido tanks. And, there's unfortunately a lot of marriages don't survive menopause,
Mhm.
because the husbands think that the wives just don't like them anymore, don't want to, there's a lot of miscommunication. And just adding a little testosterone can make a world of difference and can save your marriage.
For sure, for sure. And what about, let's bust some myths about how hormone replacement can cause cancer.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. So, and I know, the WHI study of 2002, just
Mhm.
that study came out and said that, estrogen caused breast cancer. And, they televised that, and that same day, every woman was pulled off their hormones, which is so sad
So
because so many women from 2002 until about now, they were without hormones. And we saw there's been such a rise in women with dementia, osteoporosis, just bad health, women with bad cardiovascular disease, because,
Mhm.
we have estrogen receptors on our heart. And without any estrogen replacement, cardiovascular disease is the number one killer of women, not breast cancer. I try to tell people every day, and I work in oncology, so
Mhm.
women are always so afraid of breast cancer. But I'm like, listen, really, you should be afraid of cardiovascular disease. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, the women that I work with, they can't take the estrogen because a lot of
Right.
them have estrogen positive. But women that don't have breast cancer, I always try to educate them and let them know, this estrogen can protect your heart. That is the number one killer of women. So it is a plus to take estrogen. It's not going to cause cancer. And we know that in the WHI study that they used
Mhm.
progestin, and that
Mhm.
was what was found really to be the culprit.
Yes.
Well, I don't wanna say the culprit, but the study showed that the women that were on the progestin, synthetic progestin, had a higher risk of breast cancer. But we use bioidentical progesterone. We don't use synthetic progestin. Yeah. So, and we use bioidentical estrogen, right?
Yes.
Estradiol. So,
Yes. Big, huge difference.
yes.
You know, in my opinion, I think hormones are very affordable. I really do. What about you? Do you think that this is something that women can definitely do into, late years, and even in their 70s? Is this something that they can take forever or what?
I definitely think that. And one of the things is when I was before I went, I think I was in high school and I worked as a pharmacy technician. And at that time I had no idea what I was filling, but it was Premarin and Provera were the hottest things. And those are the synthetic estrogen and progesterone. But I didn't know that it was a progestin and estrogen. And those were the hottest every month. Women would just come from all over and get their prescriptions. I was 16. I didn't know what it was. But I think about how every woman was just so, and they were older women. They were taking it from 50s until, I mean, women were coming in their 70s and
Mhm.
80s, and they would not come off of their medication until, of course, the WHI study 2002. But I absolutely think that women can stay on hormones for a long time. I
Mhm.
absolutely, and it's very affordable. If you have insurance, I mean, I only pay $15 a month for my estrogen patch and
Wow.
my progesterone tablet. I mean, it's $15 a month for each, so it's very affordable. The testosterone cream is compounded, but even that is $45. So it's not huge, but
So affordable. And is
yeah,
that covered by insurance?
it is not covered by well. The testosterone compounded cream is not, but my estrogen and progesterone are.
That's great. As long as you get a
Yeah.
prescribing provider. That's the
That's right.
problem. That's the problem.
Yeah. I think a lot there are more options now, which is good. There are more options with the telemedicine and even down here, like in Fort Lauderdale, there's a lot of prescribers that are turning the corner. So
Good.
that's
That's
good.
good to hear.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. So, what would you say to a woman who is experiencing low energy, weight gain, brain fog, trouble sleeping? What would you say to her?
Yeah. So the first thing I'd say is let's check your hormones,
Yeah.
right? So let's see what's going on. Labs are so important. So I would check their labs. And then from there, if they, and even if their labs, their hormones were in range, they're not necessarily optimal. Right. So I could still replace
Exactly.
them. So people say all the time, I checked my hormones and my doctor said they're all normal.
Right.
And then I look at them and I'm like, I mean, they're in range, but they could be better. So another thing is that, when you check your hormones, it's like a snapshot in time.
Hmm.
So your hormones are fluctuating all the time. So you could have checked your estrogen at a time where it was like high. And then, but when you're in perimenopause, they're just fluctuating up and down, up and down. So we don't really know. So I put women on, if I hear all those symptoms, I will start them on hormones, even if their labs are normal.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right, because it's really not just about the labs. It's about
Right.
symptoms.
Yes. Yeah. I listen to women and I believe them, you
Yeah.
know, because there's so many doctors that are practitioners that don't, they listen to women and they're like, this is normal for your age. And then that's it. And they brush them off. And I just,
Uh,
it's no way to live. I mean, I lived like that for like a year or two and it was horrible.
Same.
Horrible.
Same.
So I definitely would do that first, the hormones. And then, of course, I love terzepatide.
Yeah.
So many women they're gaining weight. They don't know what to do. They're eating, whole food diet. They're working out and they still can't lose. So terzepatide is like a beautiful little microdose will help them and help you feel better too, just with
Hmm.
the decreased inflammation. So I like the hormones, the terzepatide. And then from there, there's, as you know, we have so many peptides available to us that depending on what their symptoms are, there's more. There's more that can be added on.
Absolutely. What would you say are the main ones that women can benefit from in midlife?
So, of course, tirzepatide. I love the BPC 157. I do
Hmm.
love that for midlife women. The GHKCU, the beauty peptide. We all love that, right? So, I would say that one. And I like tesamorelin and ipamorelin. I really like that for women that are working out in the gym and really want to see results. That's a
Hmm.
great one. I love that.
Yeah. So are you cycling back on that one? Do you think you'll do that one again?
I do. I do think so. I just finished it, so I'll wait a couple months and then I'll cycle back on.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
love it too. I definitely saw a difference in definitely visceral belly fat and putting on lean
Yes.
muscle for sure. Yeah, I love that
And
one.
what people don't know, that one, the tesamorelin is FDA approved for people that like to say it's not FDA approved, but it is FDA approved, right? So it's a medication that came out for people with AIDS to help
Mhm.
with a medication they were taking that caused a lot of visceral fat. So, and that one, it's just great. It is really good for visceral fat. And visceral fat is so dangerous for midlife women, and that's the fat that wraps around the organs, if people don't know what visceral fat is. And that can be very dangerous. So something like tesamorelin that really helps dissolve the visceral fat can help, longevity and health span, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. What would you say to a woman who's on the fence about starting peptides, but she's doing all the right things and she's not seeing the weight budge?
Yeah, this is my conversation almost every day
Me too,
with
girl.
women,
Me
right?
too.
Because they're doing all the things, the nutrition, the weightlifting, the, walking and just everything. And they're gaining weight instead of losing weight.
Yeah.
So I just I tell them, listen, use me as an example. I use my other clients and I educate them about insulin
Mhm.
resistance.
Yeah.
And this is what's happening. This is why this is happening, and then they kind of understand, and then they once they understand what's really happening and it's not just them, this is happening to a lot of midlife women, and this medication can help with insulin resistance, and then they're like, okay, then they are more apt to start the medication, which is a
Yeah.
microdose. That's all they need usually.
Yeah. And I think it's hard because, women don't realize they have it. And it can really be happening for years before anything shows up on blood work. And then by the time it shows up on blood work, they're so far deep into
Yeah.
pre-diabetes
Yeah,
that it's hard to go back. And so it's like this is such a preventative tool to help prevent from diabetes, getting diabetes.
agreed. No,
And
I agree.
what are some symptoms of insulin resistance?
Well, the puff you can have the puffiness, the joint pain even. Of course, if you do labs, you will see that your glucose can be elevated, your insulin, in people, that's the thing, with traditional medicine, they're not going to check your fasting
Right.
insulin levels, right? So that's, that is the problem with the traditional medicine. And of course, I work in traditional medicine, but they're not checking everything that really needs to be checked. They're doing a CBC, a CMP.
Mhm, mhm,
But and that's good. We need to know those things, but we really need to know more than just that. And fasting insulin is great to know and to see where you are. And so I try to, when I work with women, I try to do the labs that are never done. And
mhm.
so to help them out, because the CBC and CMP it's only half the story. Yeah.
Absolutely. The other thing is women don't they're kind of shocked when I say sounds like you have insulin resistance because they say, "Well, how can I have insulin resistance? I eat healthy and I
Right.
exercise and I move my body every day. How can I have ins?" And I said, "Well, have you been under stress in the last 10 years?" "Yes."
Yeah.
"Okay. Well, cortisol will cause high blood sugar, which will then cause
Yeah.
high insulin." So I explain the stress, relationship to insulin to them because they can be doing all the healthy things. But if their body is under stress, and that stress can be physical, like poor sleep and under eating and over
Right.
exercising and
Right.
just trying to juggle life as a woman in midlife with
Yep.
the kids and a career, it's stressful.
It's very stressful.
And then as you lose estrogen, you become more insulin resistant.
Yep, yep. So
It's
it's
a
just
perfect storm.
all of that. It's a perfect storm. You said it. You said it. And just having a little microdose can make everything better.
Can make the
So,
biggest
and I just
difference.
wish more women knew. I do try to um, educate women, and there's still, I talk to. I'm sure you too. You talk to a lot of women, and there's some that are just afraid and they don't want to start for some reason. And I don't push anybody. I
Right.
just educate, and when they're ready, and usually what happens is they come back around.
They
You know?
try harder. They try
Yes.
same conversation I have every single day with women. Like, "No, I think I just need to try a little bit harder. I
Right.
think I need to restrict a little bit more. I think I
Yeah.
need to do more cardio." I was like, "No." I was like, "First of all, you should not be in a caloric deficit." I mean, huge caloric deficit, right? And it's not about trying harder. And then they say, "Well, I only have ice cream once a week. I mean, I shouldn't
Right.
be gaining this weight from ice cream." No, you should be able to live your life. It's just if
Right.
insulin can't or if glucose can't get inside the cell,
No.
then it can't be utilized and
Nope.
it gets stored as fat and your body can't tap into its own fat stores for energy. It's
Exactly.
nothing you can do. And the things that you're doing to try and fix the insulin resistance are actually making it worse.
Exactly. Yeah. If women only knew, like, all this over exercising and cutting, not eating,
Right.
that's why I'm not a big fan of intermittent fasting. I hear women all the
No.
time saying, "Oh, I fast and I don't eat till like," sometimes I hear they don't eat till like
Oh,
3 p.m., which is like
terrible.
just like horrible for, I'm like, that you should not be doing that. You shouldn't. I know some people believe in it and they have success with it, but
Mhm.
I don't. It's not really my way of treating women.
Same.
I think that you need to eat. You need your protein. It's very hard to get all that protein in if you're not eating till 3 p.m. I mean,
Exactly.
it's damn near impossible. So
And I
yeah.
and I test hormones too, and I do it in a different way. I test through Dutch hormone
Okay.
tests with the urine. And,
Yeah.
I see all these depleted sex hormones. And then I really dive into kind of what's going on, the root cause, like, what are you
Hmm.
eating? And they're telling me what they're eating, and it's like barely anything, right? And
Yeah.
so I'm like, well, that is why your hormones are tanked. Hormones come from cholesterol. We need adequate amounts of fat to make
Yeah.
hormones. And so they don't realize that their nutrition is not supporting their hormones at all.
Exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, so with peptides, I mean, what would you explain to a woman who wants to learn a little bit more about peptides? What do they do in the body?
So I always say, and I don't know, I probably heard it somewhere with Ellie, or that they're like little text messages, right? So they're little peptides are like text messages that send a message to, we make these peptides naturally, but as we get older, they get depleted. So these peptides, when you inject them, they are like little text messages that go and kind of alert the body to make more, so it's like a little signal for your body to just keep making more, and it makes a world of difference. I mean, like I said, I the BPC 157. Once I used that, I was sold. I was like, this is not snake oil. This
Right.
is real life. I mean, so there's so many women that have,
Mhm.
and I've turned so many women on to BPC 157, and they can't believe it. They just so yeah, it's just it's amazing. Like to explain it as little text messages that send a message, a little signal.
Yeah,
So
and why did you choose to partner with LEMD specifically? Because there's
so
lots of places that have peptides now, right? They're everywhere.
yeah, yeah. And oh my gosh, every time I turn on social media,
I
there's like
know.
so many. And the thing is that I wanted to partner with somebody. When I started looking into peptides, I wanted to partner with somebody that was reputable, that did not do research grade, but pharmaceutical grade. That was probably the number one thing, is that I wanted, pharmaceutical grade peptides. I did not want research grade. I don't want my patients reconstituting,
Mm,
peptides. And I want to know where they're coming from. I want to know that they're third party tested. When I started looking into LA, I love that it's a woman CEO. So, I love, love, love that. And she's just amazing. Meeting her in person was just like, it was just like, she's so awesome. And I really believe in, the community. The community, even from the beginning, before I even joined, you know, the women I talked to about joining, they were just so supportive. And it was just, it felt different. They were just
mhm.
so supportive. And then joining, it's been great. I mean, so much support. Everybody is helping everybody. There's no cat fights or anything. And it's mostly women, but we all just want everybody to do great. And we want to help our patients. We want patients, clients, we just want to help women feel better, and men, but a majority of our clients are mostly women, and I've seen a lot in the chats that so many people are benefiting from these peptides. So it's incredible. And I think Ellie does a great job with getting we've gotten so many new peptides
For sure.
since I joined. I'm just like, wow, this is amazing. And they're always coming out with, innovative things that are innovative, like even the packaging now I love, like, we get the peptides in like a water cooler thing. So
Mhm,
that's pretty nice. And I think that was a nice touch that I don't think other companies do.
mhm. Exactly, exactly. Exactly. Well, this was amazing, Katya. Thank you so much for joining us. And this was such great information for women in midlife, women and men who are struggling maybe with their hormones, with weight gain. And so where can our followers find you on social media? Put all of that in the show notes. I love that so much. Thank you so much. Until next time. Thank you. Bye.